for anyone that thought that last week was crazy, how's this one going? And what about next week? You know, as I record on Tuesday, it's so interesting to me that I know that what I say here regarding anything of of current events, by Thursday, when I actually release this video, it's probably going to be irrelevant. And then by the time Shabbat happens, or Friday, when most of you will watch this, who knows what could possibly happen. But I know what is not irrelevant, and that is His Word. That no matter what happens around us, His Word is true, it is stable, and it is what we can trust. But I do want to make a couple of comments regarding current events right now. We know that Bibi Netanyahu is in the United States. He was, of course, dissed by the current administration, as has been from other administrations in the past. This is not the first time that he was not given the proper protocols of arrival of a dignitary. He was probably not given the same accommodations as most dignitaries, but this is something that's happened through the years. It's not anything new. There is a desire to understand. This is something that has been given to us. It is something that the Almighty Himself placed within us. A desire. If you've ever looked at something and thought, wow, I'm going to take that apart to figure out how it works, that is our desire to understand. As we listen and we watch the current events that are happening, whether it be in Israel, which is to me the most important, or is what is happening here in the United States or any other place in the world, we have a desire to understand, and that is given to us by our Creator. But there is a greater power than understanding in this world, and that is the power of faith. Let me take you back to a teaching I did many years ago. And this is, we'll go to, I believe it's in the account of the birth of Yeshua in the book of Matthew, when the angel came to Mary, and said, you are going to have a child, and basically in her understanding, you are going to be the mother of the Messiah. And she says these words, how is it that this can be? Well, the angel explains it to her as best he can. He says that the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, is going to come upon you, and you're going to be with child. And basically her statement at the end is, I have no clue what you just said. But she says, be it unto me, according to your word. And through this, I coined a phrase a number of years ago, that faith reserves the right to ask questions. But in the end, true faith finds shalom, peace, when there's no answers. So today, if we're trying to understand what's happening around us, great, wonderful. But in the end, we're probably not going to understand. And we should be quoting the words of Miriam, be it unto me, or be it unto this world, according to your will, which is, I think, the words of Yeshua when he said that we are to pray in this manner, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth, or in this earthly realm, as it is in the heavenly realm. So true faith today is watching the current events and saying, I really don't understand what's going on, and my understanding is probably going to be less next week, but be it unto this world, according to your will. It goes back to two Hebrew words. I discussed this with Barry last week on Foundations for Life. The words are lima and lama. Now, I did not have, I couldn't find which one. I believe that it is Lima, I think I've got them in the right order, but if I don't, please forgive me. I just thought about this morning and did not have a chance to check in with my couple of my Hebrew tutors. The words Lima and Lama are both translated into English as why, okay? But they have totally different meanings. For one is, well, why is this happening? Why did this happen to me? Why did, a couple of weeks ago, why did my well pump go out? Wow, that was really inconvenient for me. But the other word, and I think that, the word why, as far as why did this happen, is really that I'm trying to understand. But in the end, I don't have understanding to figure this out. So the word lama, again, I hope I got those in the right order. The word lama is for what purpose is this happening? You may put this into the verse that Yeshua quoted upon an execution stake. He used the word lama in that. You can go back and do some reference on that yourself. So the question we should be asking ourselves regarding what is happening around us is not why is it happening, but for what purpose is it happening? And I can give you that in one simple word, one complex but very simple word: the kingdom. Everything that is happening, no matter if it is wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes in Hawaii, famines in North Africa, go on down the line. What is the purpose of all this? Is to bring forth his kingdom. Now, I've been reading through, I just finished this morning, reading through the book of Mark. I want to go back to one of the Gospels, and Mark's the shortest one. And it's interesting, it talks about the servants. Kepha took a sword and cut off the right ear of the Roman soldier. Okay, I mean, tie that to current events, right? And all the posts that are going on Facebook, and it gets crazy. When you're trying to understand the world through Facebook posts, there's really no hope, okay? You might as well just go out and, find yourself a recliner or a rocking chair and sit and ponder the grass growing or something, because you can't come to understanding with Facebook posts. But with that being said, I've been reading, and over and over again, Yeshua is talking to the disciples in parables, and he says to them numerous times, the Son of Man is going to be put to death, and I will rise again in 3 days. And they're like, what did he say? I didn't get that. It wasn't until he's hanging upon an execution stake. And they're like, why? Now, the problem, it appears that they asked the word why as far as why did this happen, instead of what purpose is this? Why is in what purpose? Because the death, burial, and resurrection of Yeshua is all about the kingdom. I mean, think about it. Because the kingdom, in order to have a kingdom, some of you have heard me teach this before, you have to first of all have a king. Number 2, you have to have a dominion, a people. Number 3, you have to have a place. And number 4, you have to have a constitution, a document that establishes that kingdom. And so we have Yeshua upon a stake. He is, as the sign is above his head, he is the king. We have a place, the scripture tells us, that is Jerusalem. It is Israel. Number 4, we have a document of the kingdom, which is the Torah, which is the scriptures. The rest of the scriptures are expounding on the Torah. But without his death, burial, and resurrection, there is no dominion. Think about that. Because in order to enter into the kingdom, we must have a redeemed people. So without his death, the shedding of blood, there is no remission of sin. Therefore, there is no redemption. Therefore, he could have a kingdom, but it would not be a kingdom. It would just be a king sitting in a place with a set of rules, a constitution. It would be alone, as he was, according to the book of Genesis, before the creation of the world. So, all that said, how do we get from here to there? It is going to be a fight. Now, many of us, including myself, do not really like conflict. Okay, I'm not a extremely competitive person in many ways. Some people may think I am, but I try to understand what is worth competing for. I guess this is why I don't really enjoy sports that much, because I don't feel that, and this is just me, okay? I'm not putting this on you, but I don't feel that my energy is best used in giving my emotional strength and my resources to something that is irrelevant to me in the end. Okay? That's just me. I'm not dissing your favorite team or your favorite sport or anything like that. That is just me. So when it comes to fighting for something, it is that I feel we need to learn what is worth fighting for in this world. And that brings us to the Torah portion of Pinchas or Phineas. Favorite Torah portion for me because I have a grandson named Phineas. And so I just kind of love this Torah portion because of that. But the Torah portion, in order to understand it, we have to go back into last week's Torah portion and actually go to chapter 25. And I'm going to start with verse 6. I'm not going to go through all the events happening up to this. Okay, Balaam, Balak, the donkey, all of those things. And then when that doesn't work, he sends in the women of Moab. And it begins with, I'm going to just kind of skip to this. Just then, in the sight of Moshe and the whole community of Israel, as they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of meeting, a man from Israel came by, bringing to his family a woman from Midian. When Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the Kohen, saw it, he got up from the middle of the crowd, took a spear in his hand, pursued the man from Israel right into the inner part of the tent, where he thrust his spear through both of them, the man from Israel and the woman through her stomach. Thus was the plague among the people of Israel stopped. Nevertheless, 24,000 died in the plague. Consider that there is a plague that is breaking out in the midst of the Hebrews. In that plague, people are falling literally left and right. I mean, you remember back to the days of COVID, and there was the daily death record of how many people had died that day as a result of COVID. Now, for many people, this was just a number that was there, unless you knew somebody that was on that list. That's why I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is usually about the first thing that I do is I go to my phone, I look at the Israel news, and I don't breathe real well until I don't see the words, "It has been released for publication," which is then followed by the name of a soldier. And when I see that, it's like, okay, name, all right, and I run through my memory banks of people that I know and soldiers that I know that are in the middle of the fight right now. It makes a difference when the number becomes a person that you know. Numbers are irrelevant. Okay? You go by a sign on the expressway, and somebody, Mothers Against Drunk Driving have posted a sign that says, how many people were killed last year because of drunk drivers. You're like, oh, wow, that's an interesting statistic. I didn't know it was that high, or I thought it would be higher, or whatever you want to think. But when there's a sign that has a picture of a single person, it's like, oh, wow, there's a face to the number. And then if it was one of the people that you know, what are you going to do? You're going to stop taking a picture of that, probably, because now you're emotionally involved in it. So there's a bunch of people weeping because of the plague that's breaking out, but they're not doing anything, okay? They're just kind of sitting there and they're crying. Well, guess what? If all you do is sit and cry, nothing's going to change. The plague is going to continue until it comes to, and we can go over to the next chapter. Those who were counted of military age were 601,730. All right, add wives and children to that, and you come up with your own number, somewhere around 3 million probably, at least. Well, as long as you're just sitting there crying, the end result is going to be 601,730 men plus women plus children, and then yourself, they're going to die, and the whole nation of the Hebrews is wiped out. End of the book. Could have saved a lot of paper, except for we have a God, an Elohim, that does not lie and is going to bring about his kingdom, his word, his promises upon this earth, and no matter what, all right? Because that's who he is. And because of that, we can go back to, when I don't understand, it's irrelevant that I don't understand. I have shalom, I'll get to that word in a moment. I have peace about what's happening in this world because my faith overrides my desire to understand. All right. Everybody's dying. So far, it's, somewhere around 24, approaching that number. And then there's this guy, Phineas. His name is interesting. I'm not going to go into his name, but it literally means, it is mouth of brass. And we could actually teach that going back to Genesis chapter 1, because the word brass goes to the serpent. Okay, if you want to go to there, you can do that on your own. But it says that he got up and did something. So instead of just being emotional, he puts his emotion to action. All right, you can cry over all kinds of things. You see a commercial on the television, and commercials are designed with a very simple principle in mind, to play upon your emotion and cause that emotion to bring forth action, which is to open your wallet and get your credit card out and give or buy something. This is why, every one of us has probably made an emotional buying experience of something, all right? Only to get home and figure out that was dumb, and then have to pay for it for however many months it takes to pay off our emotional response. So emotion needs to drive us to the right response, the right action. For Pinchas or Phineas, it says that he got up from the middle of the crowd, pursued the man and the woman right into the innermost part of the tent, where he thrust a spear through both of them, the man of Israel and the woman of Moab died right there on the spot. Now, if we go over into this week's Torah portion, finally, it only took me 30 minutes to get there, or 20 minutes to get there. It says in verse 10, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh said to Moshe, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, has deflected my anger from the people of Israel by being as zealous as I am. Important word there. The translators have used the word jealous in places, but zealous is totally, you can be jealous and do nothing. You can be zealous. He says, I am zealous for Zion. Okay, jealous over Zion is the proper pronunciation to my understanding. Being jealous for Zion is, well, I can sit on the sidelines and do that. But to be zealous for Zion, can't sit on the sidelines. I got to get in the game. So I can't just watch anymore. I have to be a part of it, because Pinchas was zealous, entered into the same zealousness as the Creator himself, it says, so that I can destroy them with my own zeal. Therefore say, I am giving him my covenant of shalom, making a covenant with him and his descendants after that. The office of Cohen will be theirs forever. Okay, so in order to understand this, we have to go back to a principle. Most of you probably know this, but the word shalom, when we take this apart, is actually the literal definition of this, the pictograms, Paleo-Hebrew, is may that which is producing chaos be destroyed. Okay? May that which is producing chaos be destroyed. I'll take you over to the renewed covenant and the Beatitudes. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of Elohim. This would be the shalom makers. There's a difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. All right, a peacekeeper is like the unwanted nobodies, the UN soldiers up at Mount Bental years ago, who were supposed to be involved in the keeping of peace on the northern border, and yet the only thing that they were watching really is, women go by. All right, they were eating their sandwiches, drinking their coffee, and looking at whatever they wanted to look at. They weren't involved in anything. They had a title, but were really irrelevant as far as keeping peace. So in order to be a peacemaker, the difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. A peacekeeper is kind of like a doormat. Okay, if you've ever been around someone that just kind of steps in and goes, okay, we need to have peace here, but never does anything to get through it. That's a peacemaker, which takes us to the word shalom. Shalom is something that you have to fight for. Now, this does not get through the typical, I'll say the left, passive society. This is not something that they can understand. This is why, to go back to what is happening in Israel, the two-state solution is no solution. Because peace, a ceasefire, is, as one of the politicians of Israel years ago said, ceasefire is that they continue to fire and we cease. It takes a backbone. It takes sometimes getting angry enough to do something in order to bring forth shalom. Shalom has to be fought for. This is the difference between Pinchas and the rest of the crowd. The crowd is weeping, he's finding the sword. Now, the question should be asked is, why did this man and woman get that far? Because nobody else was doing anything. Imagine, if you would, the picture of the tabernacle and the Hebrews encamped around the tabernacle in the wilderness. How many tents did that man and woman go by in order to get to, it says, the inner court, into the entrance to the tent of meeting? How many people did they go by who did nothing? See, the truth is that that man and woman should have never gotten to where they were. Pinchas should have been like, hey, what is that happening in the distance? Because somebody else should. And this is about Israel, the land, Israel, the people of Israel in exile. This is about our families. This is about our congregations. There are things that the elder board, staff, pastor, okay, however your congregation or your family, whoever is the authority, okay, is supposed to be the husband, but we live in a world that many ladies are having to take on that place of authority in their homes because of divorce or whatever it may be. But what happens? Well, let's put it this way. So we have let's say the model family. You have a husband, a wife. You have the 2.7 children, whatever it is now that is out there. Let's just round it off to 3 children because it's hard to deal with a 0.7 child. That was dumb. I know. Sometimes I have to entertain myself. Okay, so just give me a break there. So we have a husband, wife, 3 children. The smallest child decides to bring something, goes out into the yard, plays in the dirt, gets feet, hands, everything totally and completely muddy, and starts coming back into the house. Well, the first thing that should happen is that the child should figure out, wait a minute, Mom and Dad don't allow this mud in the house, so I'm going to stand out here and ask them to come help me clean up before I go in. But that one didn't work because the child that got muddy is probably not thinking about that. So this child meets the older sibling on the steps, going in up to the door. The older sibling is to say, Mom and Dad don't allow that kind of mud in the house, so let me go get Mom or Dad and help clean you up. But the older sibling goes, not my problem. I don't need to deal with it. So the child makes it into the house with their mud on their shoes and everywhere else, and meets the oldest sibling, the firstborn, who's got the responsibility of setting some order in the line of authority, but again does nothing. ends up, the child makes it all the way into the house. And mom and dad have to deal with the consequences of the muddy boots all the way from the front door into wherever they are. Sounds a little silly, doesn't it? But this is how it is to be. That as a pastor, we have a small congregation, but as a pastor, there should be things that never get to me, because somebody else should take care of it. So if someone comes, makes a mistake of gossiping, makes a mistake of, whatever, it should be handled out there. If it gets all the way to me, maybe my leadership has failed. Maybe I haven't taught them how to confront issues before it gets to that point. And so this man and this woman making it into the court of the tabernacle, it was a failure of the people who let them get there. Now, turning the corner, it goes to chapter 26, which is the counting of the people. And basically it is summed up by this: prepare for the battle ahead of you. Know what and who you have to stand by you. Now, in the end, yes, we have the Almighty Himself, but, the pattern of Scripture is that we need others standing with us. We need to know the people that are standing beside us, prepared to go into the battle. I would dare say that in many places, it could be a large congregation, it could be a small one. People don't know who is sitting beside them, because the only interaction they have with them is during a specific ordered time. It's interesting to me to go by churches. I can tell you the strength of the church very easily. I can tell you the strength of a congregation, of a synagogue. It's very easy. All you have to do is look at the time that the service dismisses. Be there in the parking lot at that time, and you find out how fast the parking lot is cleared. That will tell you the strength of the congregation, the strength of the church, the strength of the synagogue, whatever it is, okay? That will tell you the strength. I just the other day, a church that's known as, in Franklin, as one of the very strong churches. I was there at 5 after. I saw the parking lot 5 minutes after 12, totally empty. Nobody's there. People hanging around, people communicating, people talking with each other. The longer they stay, the stronger the congregation is, because they're getting to know the people that are standing next to them in battle. All right, so it goes to the numbering of the people, and then it goes to, we're going to go in chapter 26 in verse 52. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh said to Moshe, the land is to be parceled out among these as a possession to be inherited according to the number of names. He's establishing the goal. The goal is for the people of Israel to enter into the land of Israel, for the Hebrews to inherit the land. And so he establishes the goal, which, by the way, was already established 40 years earlier. Now, there's only 2 people in the camp at the moment, well, three actually, that were above the age of 20 at the time, is Joshua, Caleb, and Moses himself. But we will see in just a few short verses here that Moses is about to die. So the idea that this poses to us is that there are only two men in the camp who always kept their eyes on the destination. There was something about it. When Moshe said, coming out of Egypt, that we're going to the promised land, we're going to the land of Canaan, he quoted the four I wills, one of those being, I will bring you into the land and establish it as your inheritance. There were only two people that actually heard that. Now, there was a whole multitude that acknowledged audible signals and vibrations that were going through the air. There's a difference between acknowledging audible sound vibrations and actually internalizing those sound vibrations. Two out of however many came out of Egypt internalized those vibrations and took them upon and brought them in as a promise unto themselves. So today, again, we look and we can say, well, this is all about establishing his kingdom and taking us into his kingdom. And the vast majority of people will go, uh-huh, yeah, I heard that, uh-huh, okay. But the very minority will be, I got that. I got that. So everything that I do from this point on is based upon, I got those words. I was talking to a guy yesterday that we were riding to somewhere together, and the first time we'd ever had a chance to really spend just, a half an hour or so, just the two of us in a car. And we ended up talking a little bit about politics, and I don't do that normally in a crowd of people because it goes nutso. So we were talking, and I said, the thing is, I said, please understand this, that I don't think in either left wing or right wing. I talked about this last week a little bit. I don't think in left wing, right wing, Republican, Democrat, independent, moderate, all those. I don't think in those terms. I desire and try my best to think in biblical terms. Think about that. Train yourself to think in biblical terms, which is, for what purpose is this happening? It is about the kingdom being established. So keeping our eyes on the goal, and as I say that, okay, let's say that, just because someone may be thinking it, or you may run across someone and say, well, I don't think that his kingdom's coming for 100 years. Okay, but it's still coming. And see, if I die prior to seeing his kingdom coming, that's irrelevant. Okay? If you die prior to his kingdom coming, please understand what I'm saying, your death is irrelevant regarding his kingdom coming. So you're still going to, if you're part of the dominion, you're still going to see that. We just don't know when. All right? I told Kathy, my bucket list is his kingdom coming. That's it. I don't have any other bucket list really than that one thing. I'd like to shoot a hole in one. Okay, but that's really irrelevant in light of eternity. My bucket list is this: your kingdom come, your will be done on this earth, in this earthly realm as it is in the heavenly realm, and I'd like to see it soon and in my day. Okay, that's my bucket list. In order to do that, we may have to fight for it. In fact, we're probably going to have to fight for it. As is told to us in chapter 27 of the daughters of Zivlot, yeah, something like that, the son of Heifer, interesting, son of Gilead. I'm going to stop right there because, okay, I know it goes down to Manasseh and to Yosef. So their father died. There's no sons. So basically, they have no inheritance. Now, okay, if you want to discuss, the whole thing of the males, okay, take that up with the Almighty. That's just what His Word says, okay? So it's not my issue because I figure He knows, He laid this out. But that being said, these women, I think it's 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, they come to Moshe and say, okay, there's supposed to be inheritance, but our dad died, and there's no sons. But why is it we're being cut out? Okay, they could have just married into, I guess, some of the other tribes, but they, for some reason, said, no, we're thinking out of the box. See, fighting for something sometimes means, how bad do you want it? They wanted a piece of the kingdom for the legacy of their father. Bad enough to ask Moshe, break the rules on this. Go against. David, when he entered into and ate the showbread, that's against the rules. Okay? But we're hungry. In order to keep fighting, we have to have bread. There's times in which, and be careful of this, but there's times in which we've got to figure out just how much are we willing to fight for something. Or just lay down and accept everything as it is. All right, move on. We then read about the death sentence regarding Moshe. He says, climb up into the mountain, and you're going to see the land. Then you're going to be gathered to your people. Basically, this is your last, this is your last stand. You're going to climb up the mountain. You're going to die. You're going to be buried, and we'll see you on the Mount of Transfiguration, I guess. He didn't even know that one. But this death sentence, of course, we see in some of the writings that he tried his best to negotiate this. In the end, it's not negotiable. Why? Probably get to that when we get to the end of Deuteronomy, Devarim. But the purposes of the death of Moshe are greater than just the life of Moshe. There's prophetic pictures that come forth. And so he accepts his death as for what reason? And that is because the legacy of Moshe must pass on to another person. One of the things that I respect highly, many things I respect Moshe for, but one is the first words out of his mouth are so. Let me just read it. It says, "Let Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim, the spirits of all human beings, appoint a man to be over the community, to go out and come in ahead of them, to lead them out, bring them in, so that Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh's community will not be like sheep without a shepherd." That brings in many other scriptures of the prophets, of many scriptures that Yeshua spoke about a group of sheep, a flock of sheep without a shepherd will be dead sheep in the end, must have a shepherd in place there. And so his first concern is for the people. A true leader puts the people first before themselves. Okay? Greater love is no man. Okay? There's many other scriptures we could go to. A true leader puts the needs of his sheep in a place of priority over his own needs. And therefore, Joshua comes onto the scene. Now, quickly, the next chapter then goes into a summary that is given. Yudevave said to Moshe, give this order to the people, and he goes into the sacrifices, into the festivals, into Shabbat, into all of this, and lays it out. What is he doing there? Is he just simply repeating himself? No. Because there was maybe a tendency in the camp, well, that's the Torah of Moshe, the Torah of Moses. I understand the phraseology there, because the Torah was given through Moshe. It was not given to Moshe. It was given through Moshe to the people. And there would have been a tendency with the death of Moses for the people to say, well, that was for the era of Moses, not the continuation into the life and leadership of Joshua. Isn't there an interesting prophetic picture there? That Malachi says, forget not the Torah of Moshe. Yeshua says, do not think that I have come to abolish the Torah of Moshe. Because if we understood, the Torah of Moses was the Messiah. The Torah is the Messiah. I'll quote it again. Psalm 40. Should have this one already in your mind here. Behold, I am coming. In the scroll of the book it is written of me. It is the Torah, the testimony. The Torah is the testimony of Yeshua, the Messiah. That's the words of Revelation. So the testimony of the Messiah was given to the people of Israel, the Hebrews, and the foreigners who would be joined to the Hebrews. The Torah was given through Moses to them. So it was never, Moses was literally to be just the scribe of the Torah. It is not his. Never was, never will be. He was simply the scribe that gave it unto the people. So if we don't understand that in the foundation, then we come over to the renewed covenant, the so-called New Testament, and not understanding that the Torah is the testimony, the testament, the testimony of the Messiah, then we don't understand that when Messiah comes, the Torah is still there. Even though you read the words, the Torah became flesh and dwelt among us. These arguments, they break down. They break down very, very fast. And we should be thankful that he has shown us that his testimony is true from beginning to end. I just had my alarm went off. So 9 o'clock in the morning, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevot Malkuto Leolam Vayed, Shalom Yerushalayim. May your kingdom come soon and in our day. All right, what a great way to end. Shabbat Shalom. Shavua Tov. Have a blessed, prosperous week. Bezrat Hashem. See you again next week. Just a couple seconds before I say the final words there. I want to say thank you to those of you who watch this program. I know there's so many different, there's countless out there. How many choices you have today. I want to say thank you to those that watch this, those that share it, and also for those that support it. The different programs we do, the work we do in Israel, various things that are happening behind the scenes. I just don't want to go another week without saying thank you to each of you that make all of this possible. All right. So with that, until next week, be strong.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmarecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.